Welcome back. Another exciting day of bargaining. So just as a note, we've done our housekeeping here with our folks watching, but we do broadcast by Zoom for members and folks that are tuning in. And that does not include any kind of caucus or sidebar. So we will move along. I had for major topics today, your response to our instructional proposals. And we do have our ESP coming. We've scheduled them to come at 3.
Okay.
So we can work for the next couple hours. See where we get.
All right. Sounds
So
good.
I will let you take over.
Okay. Thank you. All right. And I do want to apologize. Obviously, I wasn't here at the last meeting. I was on vacation. I know Kelly did a great job and debriefed and shared everything with me. But if I missay something that was said the last time, it's because I wasn't here. Okay. So Kelly will correct me if I do. So obviously you had presented some contract language that we did want to go ahead and go through. Okay. As a reminder, this is a non-language year for the instructional bargaining unit. It's a language year for the ESP bargaining unit. And thank you to your team on the ESP bargaining team, led by Regina, that we were able to settle all of our contract language with ESP, which is a great step because anytime it's open book, that's a extensive process. So, all right. So with instructional, we're going to go through each thing. And even though it's a non-language year, both sides can agree to bring some pieces of the language. There's some pieces of the language that while we also think it's language that we want to explore further, that we may want to table it until either that it is a language year or look at it during this year to kind of gather some more information. Okay. All right. So I am going to, the first page was page 11, correct? Okay.
2.9.
Yes. So we have been exploring the student services and school psychologist language here. We do know that there are a lot of asks of our school psychologists right now. And what we would like to do, and we started not really with your bargaining team, but with a group of your school psychologists. Is Anita over there? We have met and started conversations with some of these topics. So we do want to continue to explore some of these topics. We have some ideas on whether some of this should be a TK role, whether it should be that those on the crisis intervention team have a supplement. Like we do think there's something that needs to be explored here. We're not ready to put this in the contract language until we really look at it holistically. So that's where we're at right now with that, as well as with the job share piece. Currently what we're doing with school psychologists, and maybe you can give me a little bit more information on why we're bringing this halftime piece here. We know in our contract for instructional, there's job share language, right? So 2 employees, if we have a teaching position or a counselor position or whatever it might be, 2 employees with the approval of their principal can share that position. And then they do either split the benefits or one gets the benefits and the other one elects not to get the benefits. We do the same thing with school psychologists. Now, what is unique with school psychologists is that the supervisor of school psychology does the assignments each year, okay? So what our current practice has been is she puts out, is there any school psychologists that want to work, quote unquote, half-time? And she then creates her schedule based on that information. So for example, if a unit was going to be someone that was 0.5 at this school and 0.5 at another school, then knowing that, she pairs those 2 psychologists together in that unit. And we fill out the job share application and all that good stuff. So we believe we have a process for this currently. And the reason we've been allowing that is because school psychology is a critical shortage area, right? So that's what we're currently doing. We'd like to continue with that unless you have compelling information to share why that's not working.
So I guess a question before I kind of kick it to Anita.
Yes.
The job share, because we're saying it's for school psychologists, but you mentioned counselors, SLPs, social workers, like we do that already for all student services.
Yes.
It just, I think maybe it's come up because it's just, our
Yeah.
school psychologists are, but I don't know if Anita wanted to add anything about the rationale.
Well, I think
Why?
because that, if I'm understanding it correctly, the application for job share, it states that like if one of those people can't, for whatever reason,
Right.
leaves like the district, then the other person can absorb
Got
that position. So
Okay.
we were,
Worried.
kind of worried about that.
Okay.
So it was more that because we have sites that have like a, 2.5 day week allocation.
Right.
That it would just almost be easier to allow somebody to work that 2.5, and then they don't have to worry that, oh, so-and-so who works at the other school, because they don't
Right.
ever work at the same school. It's not like somebody comes
Correct.
in the morning, they wouldn't have to worry about that. So
Okay.
that was part of the rationale. for
Okay.
that, Because how that contract.
Okay, fair enough.
And to be clear, what she's talking about, that isn't just school psychologists when that happens, that would happen to
It
an
is.
instructional position, which is, because I don't know if everyone could hear, that just, if there's a job share pairing going on, if one of those
Correct.
people leave, one of the employees leaves, then that one person has to
Correct.
absorb it all. And then the challenges of being at 2 different sites, so.
Okay. And I don't believe any of us were sitting at this table when that job share language was first put in. And things were probably much different back then. I think just assuming, that was put in place because especially when it's a classroom teacher, now you have a whole half, of kiddos that don't have a teacher. But that might be something we want to explore when we're doing language. Okay, so I do think these aren't topics, like we're not opposed to this, but we feel like it has to be looked at holistically and deeper, and we believe it'd be more appropriate during a language year.
And just to be clear, the reason we brought them, because they were tied to compensation,
Mhm.
especially when you mentioned supplements and TPay for, on 2.9. So,
Yeah.
just to be clear too, right now, the position of the board is.
Right now, we
no
want to
for
hold.
now. Like hold for continued negotiations this session, or no for now to hold till future negotiation? I just want to be clear
Okay,
what you mean.
understood.
If you need more time to look at these, that's.
Let's
for
hold
this
for more
session.
time.
Okay,
At this time.
okay. That's helpful.
Okay, got it. All right. Page 17, 3.5.1. And my understanding is that, and of course, I wasn't here to hear the rationale, but this is just to clarify our current practice.
Yeah, I think that, we're not just saying, oh, there's a round amount. Like, I think we've talked about this in the past, even when I first got here, where it was comp time may be limited, where I've been in situations where, hey, you've got conference night, but
Yeah.
you're only gonna get 2 hours. When, it actually went 2.5 or
Right.
3 hours because of whatever, but then, sorry, I can only give you 2 hours. So or vice versa. If
Correct.
it's, hey, we're expecting an hour, but it only turns out to be 30 minutes.
Right.
And so we just want to make sure that folks are getting comp time, especially when it infringes on their planning time. They're actually
Okay.
getting
Understood.
minute for minute. So
Yep.
that's all. It was not to try to, I don't think, change anything there,
Right.
just to add that clarity.
Okay. So we are in agreement to add this language. Do you have a clean sentence? I brought a pen.
But it's in the bag.
Do we want to use microphones?
Oh, we can.
Thank you.
Yes, David. Get the gooseneck. I'll try to talk louder. It's easier for them to hear you because you're talking out there.
Folks that are here. Sound.
Yeah, it's for people behind me. I think they have a hard time hearing me behind me.
Yeah.
Is that what you're,
Especially on that side, they can't hear anything.
because the air conditioner is really loud up there too.
Okay. Maybe they might. Okay.
Yeah, they can move.
All right.
All right, so TA on.
TA on 3.5.1.
Got it.
All right, 3.6.2. We want to add a few words and then we're willing to
Okay.
look at this. So right now, you are requesting that we add similar, and some of this language in here today, it's like deja vu, right?
Yeah,
Like, because
this-
we discussed this at ESP.
Yeah, our
Right.
goal was to
Mirror it,
what
yes.
what we settled with ESP.
Which is good. So we would like to do the same, but then for the last sentence, therefore instructional employees who attend open house or other student parent engagement activities at the request of their supervisor.
Oh,
Yeah. Beyond the regularly, and I think that is in the ESP language,
Yeah,
a version of
I
that.
may be able to. Yes, to contracts. On my search, but
Not that good.
that's okay. Yeah, I guess actually in the ESP contract, that language is already there.
Okay, and that's
So-
probably why we didn't put it here. So what is the exact language in the ESP
So.
for that piece of it? Looks like the price is right.
I know.
You know.
All right, so an ESP contract, therefore ESP employees who attend open house or other student parent engagement events at the request of their supervisor will be granted comp time.
All right.
For hours worked beyond the workday and used in accordance with.
Okay, so we would like to add that exact language at the request of their supervisor, and then we would be in agreement with that.
Which I think a lot of these are, I mean, we're not trying to change anything to say like, oh, these are new things. These are, the reason we were proposing this language
Is to mirror.
to add the parent, student parent engagement activities is because they are happening.
Correct.
So at the request of,
I know. And that's 3.6.2.
yeah, I think we're gonna put it in engagement activities at the request of their supervisor beyond the regularly scheduled
Yes.
workday.
Mhm.
I'm good with that. Let's see what I did on here.
Thank you.
Right?
All right, next page, page 19, 3.9.3. Library media specialist shall not be required to teach classes on the special services schedule. We are not in agreement with this at this time, and we would want to hold it for, so that we can do more research into what is happening at different sites and what we would like to propose. And if there's any specific situations, we would ask that you reach out to it, employee
Yeah.
relations to discuss.
So I guess the question is, what more do you need? Because I think we've brought it up a lot and we've given examples of sites where this has happened, and I know Rob has dealt with this intensely, so I think we would just, I don't know if there's something else you want to say about what you've got.
I'm gonna actually pass it to Renee if she
Oh.
doesn't, she wants to add. I know she's collected really good data from
Yeah.
the media specialists around this, and maybe that's really captures it. I don't know if you have anything you really want to add about that.
Yeah, I mean, I did a survey toward the end of last school year, and it wasn't anonymous, so not everybody felt comfortable sharing, but the majority of elementary school media specialists reported that they are in some capacity on the special services schedule, but not signing FTE, not getting any kind of extra pay.
Would you be comfortable sharing that data with employee relations?
Yes.
Okay,
So would you be willing, if we were able to share it today, to come back to this session, or,
we would still want to be able to talk to all stakeholders, which would include our principals, and so we do want to hold that for,
so this is a no for now?
Correct.
Okay. So that'll be great if you can, if you want, you can kind of summarize it and clean it up and get it to Rob and I, and we'll pass it on.
okay, yeah, thank you.
Okay.
All right. 4.3.7 through 4.3.9.
Yes.
We are, we want to explore this further because we do believe that there's some confusion with sites, with employees. We do want to work with you to develop potentially some kind of form, something like that. Kind of like what we did the year we did the grievance form.
Yep.
So right now, we would say this is a no for now, with the intent to work through it. And if we get it in place before the next contract language, fine, but we think this will take time and we want to involve all stakeholders.
Okay, and I think, did I send you guys a Word document?
You
of this?
did.
Okay,
You
yeah,
did.
because we are trying to get people kind of used to it internally,
Yeah.
just to kind of use when we're working on these cases, so, but yeah, that's what we had kind of like.
And obviously
source
there's,
only.
yeah, and there's statutory language around this process and, but we also think that there's confusion around the process. So we want to be able to, together with you, draft guidance for our schools and then work on making the process more clear. Not just, you know, for the employees, for the principals that, because we get a lot of calls that, what do I do? How does this work? Kind of thing.
Yeah, and I know there's been substantial work on, code of conduct, which I
Yep.
think is tied to this in a lot of ways.
It is.
But also being very clear on, you know, I think, and I'll just say here, one of probably the biggest challenge we deal with is when there is an ESE student whose behavior may manifest, you know, through their disability, and it comes out in their behavior, and that, you know, we're not just excusing the behavior because of the disability, when the behavior is still very problematic and it's still assault. So, and I think we do a good job of talking through those and working on that, but that's probably where I think some of the biggest concerns are, and it's just hard.
Correct.
We agree, but I think in all of those, the key is documentation, because if it's just we've talked about this, if it's just it's happening and happening and happening, and then it finally gets to that point where it's so bad, I want to report it or deal with it. We want to try to make sure all those steps are in place early enough so it doesn't get to that high level of assault.
Agreed.
Okay?
All right, page 53,
Yeah.
12.25.1. We're going to be discussing some areas in the language later that will have a fiscal impact.
Okay.
And like we've talked about, like in the past, I say this all the time, we can do some things, we can't just always do all things because
Right.
there is a finite budget. So we are not in agreement for this at this year. All right.
Right.
Now, like you mentioned previously, some of this language mirrors, you presented it prior to us settling the ESP language.
Right?
So I just want to so for 13.10,
Mm-hmm.
we had presented one little adjustment and you had said, let's leave it as is. So I think we should
Right.
do that again,
Okay.
this as well.
And just to kind of recap, because not everybody who's following instructional negotiations were maybe watching ESP. This
Okay.
particular section in 3.10.1 and then a new 3.
Yeah.
We're all about the transition of the school board moving from fully insured to self-funded.
Correct.
And we've had so many conversations about the commitment of the committee and how that committee will change over time. Well, not over time, but now that we're moving from fully insured, where the committee has maybe met once a year and had discussions, where now this needs to be a more, I don't know, intentional
We'll be
monthly
meeting
thing.
monthly, all those
And
things, right?
so,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know, this was our proposal in our minds, was to actually put those commitments and those discussions in writing, because it is very important. But I'm gonna summarize what we heard last time from you, is that you're just not comfortable putting this in writing right now until we do it for some time.
Right,
Is
and I
that
think
right?
with it being a language year next year for instructional, we'll have a lot more information on what this process looks like, and that would be an appropriate time to look at that language. Yep. All right. So going to the next section, terminal pay.
Right,
So 14.3.1, we had also presented language to you as well. And we would like to, and then it really is in conjunction with the next page, 17.3.7.
yes, yeah,
Okay, so what we would like to propose, much like we did with ESP,
Mhm.
is that the language about the 59.5 is the language that we presented to you at our last session. You got it right there. And that in conjunction with that, that we would for 17.3.7
Mhm.
say effective July 1, 2025.
Mhm.
And then like you had proposed, strike that there will be a maximum salary placement for rehired retirees. And for those who don't know, currently our language is if you retire and then you sit out, it used to be a year, now it's only 6 months you have to sit out, and you come back, you had a maximum placement of year 15 on the salary schedule. Over the last few years, that's changed. It used to be that the max was 5 years on the salary schedule. Then it moved to 7 years on the salary schedule. Then last year or the year before, help me with my memory, it
I think
moved to,
was 2 years.
2
Well, it
years.
was in 2023.
oh, yeah, there it is right there. It moved to 15 years.
Yeah.
We are now proposing or accepting your proposal in conjunction with the other
Right.
language that there is no max. So if you came back and you had 30 years of experience, you would be placed at the top of the scale. We think that's a huge
Mhm.
decision.
Mhm.
And I don't want to we haven't worked out every single employee yet.
Right.
We have to drill down on each employee, but
Mhm.
that's at an approximate cost of almost $1.5 million to our current employees. Because they will be, some of them would be moving from
Right.
E15 to E25.
Right.
Right? So we think, when that language was first put in, it was probably to control costs. There probably wasn't, the critical shortage that we have at this time. And we want to recruit our retirees that still feel that they have something to give back to the workforce if they'd like to. A lot of other districts also have a cap on retired retirees, and a lot of them are moving in this direction as well.
Yeah. I think Pasco was one of the most recent
They
to
were.
move to all years of credit.
They were.
And I think too that part of the reason there was caps on that because there were, it's been cleaned up now in the law where the notorious double dipping, right? That's now not a thing. So that was, I think, part of that too. But that's all since been cleaned up in the statute. So we're trying to keep up. So what I'll do.
I have one more little piece.
Oh, go ahead.
All right, so we would want to propose that our language for the 59.5, then effective July 1, 2025, that all years of experience, so those employees will be moved effective July 1, and that would settle the level 2 grievance that we've been working on
I see.
together.
Yeah.
Because that should clear that one up.
Yeah, because I think that meeting is tomorrow, Friday, it's coming up, or maybe you already had it, I don't know.
We're having a meeting to discuss.
Okay, yeah, so I think that, I mean, we've been talking internally about that, what would be the settlement. So, just to be clear, so on 17.3.7, we would strike 2023 and make that 2025.
Correct.
And then we would strike up to a maximum of 15 years of experience credit.
Correct.
On my retirement, but they would just
Place wherever
effective
they're,
experience.
correct.
And to be clear about those that are currently here who will be moved, the reason we're doing the effective 2025 is that there wouldn't be retro, meaning
Correct.
those employees would be moved, to be corrected, and then all new hires coming in. That way nobody is leapfrogging, if you will.
Correct.
So,
Correct, and we have done this process together when we moved from 7 to 15.
Mhm.
So we know how to do the process. It
Yeah.
takes some time because we have to drill down on each employee's experience to see where, because some people might have retired with 20 years of experience and then came
Right.
back and were placed at 15. So we have to place them wherever they are. But there will be some employees that will go from level 15 to level 25.
yeah, and I wanna just kind of recap too, because we had a little more in-depth discussion about it with the ESPs, about how this came about, was more about, again, older language with older statutes, and then the implementation of the investment plan, which
Correct.
brought us to a situation where some of our employees were kind of being double whammy, you know, kind of hit twice where they weren't eligible for terminal pay, but yet they were still considered retirees, but they couldn't get terminal pay. And Tracy Schatzberg helped clarify that if an investment plan participant takes a rollover, which is considered by the FRS as a payout, so then they are considered retiree, they would come back for all their years of service and they would have access to their sick leave. But if they then, through that time, meet the 59.5 with 6 years or 30 years, then they are eligible for terminal pay. So it still allows them the opportunity to have terminal pay while coming in as a retired retiree, getting all their experience, access to their sick leave, and then as they earn their credit under this new language. So, okay. So I think we're willing to TA it, but I know that you've got this tag on it to settle the grievance through the language, so I just would need to talk with staff.
Okay.
Caucus, but I think.
Understood.
I think we understand.
Okay.
So I'm just gonna-
I mean, I think it would settle it, but I just.
I think
wanted
it
to
would too, but
verify.
I just wanna have,
Okay,
internal discussion.
understood, understood. Don't lose those.
I know, okay.
All right, so going to page 61.
Mhm.
Okay. So currently, and it's in our salary schedule as well, which I'm always think it's odd when we have some of this language in the salary schedule and in the contract, but that's okay. Because we obviously look at the salary schedule every year, whereas,
Right.
you know, but for that purpose, right here, salary for any instructional employee hired for summer staffing, the extended school year and extended learning program shall be paid at a fixed rate. The current language is $27 per hour,
Mhm.
and it has been for some time.
Yeah.
And we are proposing that we keep the current language, but increase that to $30 per hour, which would be an 11% increase over where we have been. So we think that is progress in the right direction. And then we would want to strike, like, not agree to the rest of the blue. We would just do,
Right, you would just change, to be paid at a fixed rate of $30 an hour and.
Correct.
Leave as is.
correct.
Alright. Well, I understand the counter, so we'll discuss it.
Okay. This is a third. Thank you. All right. Look. All right, page 64. Group 2 supplements. We are not in agreement for this cycle with the bilingual interpretation translation service supplement. That's a no. And then ESE contact team leader. We would like to propose a counter to what you proposed in the, I mean, I know this part's just putting it in there.
Right, okay,
So that's adding it in here.
so just kind of hold till we. That.
Okay, unless you just want me to say it.
Go ahead.
I got it.
Sure.
It's on this page, my notes, so.
Then go for it.
Yeah.
All right, so you had proposed for the ESE contact to be the same supplement as the ESE specialist.
Right,
We are proposing that the ESE contacts be the same, be $1,120.01. Don't ask me. That's what it, to be the same as the curriculum coordinators and middle school team leaders. So that would be an increase of 32% to their current supplement. While we do acknowledge that we feel like the ESE contacts responsibilities are a heavier lift than the current elementary team leaders, we also feel that the ESE specialist is a different level of responsibility.
okay.
That
So,
makes sense.
yeah, it does, and I think, we didn't propose it to be the same as the ESC specialist.
Oh, you didn't?
It was, well, I guess it did come out to be the same, but we had a
Oh.
rationale for that.
Oh, okay.
But we did, because in the supplement list, there is an ESE team leader, so I think our proposal was to kind of just make it ESE contact, but we propose it as ESE contact / team leader.
Got it.
So we just understand that, rather than our proposal of $2,379.52, your counter is $1,121.
Yes.
Okay.
And
Got it.
just for, none of us were here when the supplements first were established. But there were times when they were increased by certain percentages,
Right,
which is probably why.
yeah,
Weird.
We don't know if it's because of that. My other theory, and these are all theories because none of us were here, was at some point they did it as a daily rate
right.
and then multiplied it by how many days were in the schedule. That's my other theory, but can't really.
Yeah, there's
I don't-
definitely,
not sure.
there's different contracts, different ways, but definitely kind of sometimes there's a multiplier and a factor based
Yeah.
on, beginning, whatever base starting salary is. And then,
Close, man.
and then, yeah, and then they figure out like what the hourly estimate would be, and so.
We
can look
believe
at
those
same
were
thing, but I think that would
before
be,
computers, so we have no
yeah.
notes on why those were established the way
Right.
they were.
But I think that is just another good point about what we've been talking about is convening the supplement committee. And I know that's an instructional language piece, but I think, our request will be to include the ESPs because their supplements need to be looked at as well. So, we'll take the counter and talk with the
Okay.
team about it.
Thank you.
Mhm.
All right. And we haven't gotten to the economic agreement yet, but,
Right.
for the National Board Certified Teachers, we are proposing that we, do not add additional, supplements to this at this time for this year, but that we will be proposing what we, proposed and agreed to last year.
Okay.
And we'll get to that with the economic agreement.
Right, and just to kind of summarize, because I think our proposal for that started on page 68, we had proposed. I mean, the first one was just for an instructional who was initially certified as a national board, would receive a salary supplement, the master's CV supplement during that school year in which they got their initial certification. We also proposed an employee who is also national board certified, who earns their maintenance of certification, would receive a supplement. We also proposed that, national board teachers who teach at any school would receive the, salary differential, which is, we pay a higher salary differential for those in the transformation schools. And then we also proposed some language about encouraging participation in their continuing for their certification to get some component fee reimbursement. And then also some more about maintenance of certification for fee reimbursement. Those were all kind of new things that came out of that caucus. And, but we do still have language, which I'm hearing you say we will come back to. We currently have a mentoring bonus and we currently have, certification pay. So we'll look at what you have there. That was just to
Okay.
try to summarize for those that weren't here or maybe listening.
Got it.
Okay.
All right, going to
We're on 22.4,
22.4. Yep, thank you.
a new 12. I don't know what
Yeah.
it would have been.
Yeah. We'll do the numbers at the very end. Yep. All right, so our proposal, much like we talked about, for anytime something in the contract says only for the whatever year, 25, 26 year, 20, it really should be in the economic proposal. And so here, only for the 25, 26 year, because we only do language every 3 years, so you're not gonna go back. It's a one-time thing, so for lack of a better way of saying it. So we are proposing that we strike all of this because in the language, it says only for the 23, 24 year. So that's no longer in effect. So we feel that this section should be struck. What we do want to bring forth, and you will see that it's not in our economic proposal today because we think it's a deeper conversation. We want to look at what is currently defined as Renaissance. Okay, so the Renaissance language, so that just kind of some history, you know, Dr. Whelan's sick, but I wish she was here because she was here when all this kind of happened. It was originally supposed to be for the 2014-15 year, right? That's when it started, and it just kind of kept going, right? And I don't know what conversation was had in 2014-15, but the needs of our district right now in 2025-26 are much different than they were in 2014-15. So what we would like to do is collaborate on an MOU for Renaissance, where it will look different, right? Where Renaissance, first, we define what is Renaissance. Okay? Is Renaissance, currently it's any Title I school that's at 90% or above free and reduced lunch, but there's no other guidelines. And we know every school looks different. Every school has different challenges. So we would want to look at, is it a different kind of formula? Is it, now I'm just, do we look at the ELL population at that site? Do we look at performance at that site? We feel like all of these supplements should be to recruit and retain employees to hard to staff schools. And do they have critical vacancies at those sites? So I don't know exactly what it should look like, but we would like to work on a Renaissance MOU that defines what is Renaissance, what is the compensation for Renaissance, and what are the expectations for being at a Renaissance site, much like we do with transformation right now. So our transformation MOU that we discuss annually is, yes, you're at a transformation site and you are receiving $5,000 or any state awarded bonus, but here's some expectations. You're expected to commit for the year to that site and not to leave in the, in the middle of the year unless, and we have language in there that it can be looked at by the district and CTA. I'm not saying like that I have it all worked out on what it should look like, but we're open to it. We just want to recreate it.
Okay. Yeah, so I just think a couple things, I know what had happened, this language had just remained, but what we've done historically, at least in my time here, was that in the transformation network MOU, Renaissance schools were listed and included, which
Correct.
just basically mirrored this. There were no
Mhm.
real increases there
Right.
to maintain that. And then, we actually, when we proposed the transformation network MOU this year, we did propose kind of redefining that as
Yeah.
schools of need, and we've had lots of conversations about it may be beyond just the Title I and the free and reduced lunch aspect, that there are critical vacancies and some of these other things. And at that time, that was not agreed to. So I'll just say, I mean, we are absolutely open to that. We have tried to propose that language and we continue to do it. So I don't know if there's anything else you want to add to that, but
And we want to work on it sooner rather than later.
yeah, absolutely, because I think,
But we want it to be data driven,
Yeah,
right? And we want it to have
Sure.
Expectations around it.
right,
And we know that there's Title I schools that are Renaissance right now that have critical vacancies and
Yep.
that are not in transformation. And maybe this year we're a D school. And then
right,
we have some that historically don't have any vacancies and are always A performing schools. So we need to redefine what is Renaissance, because what it was in 2014 may
right.
not be what it should be in 2025.
Yeah, and I think it's not on this page, was it, the national boards who teach in Renaissance schools. I mean, we proposed striking that because we believe that all national boards should be, we find there's not that many of them, as there once were. That whether it's Renaissance or transformation, that if they're in a school, they should be receiving that differential. But what's not on the page is 22.4.9, I believe, which it's not there. It's not in the copy I gave you, but
Okay.
the language says that the school district of Hillsborough County and the Hillsborough Classroom Teachers Association agree to continue to explore additional methods and provisions for recognizing outstanding teaching performance and to recommend specific monetary awards for this purpose. So I think, that's in the language, and it's a commitment that we both have, which I believe ties very much to what you're talking about with Renaissance Pay. So it may not, it may be that aspect too. And I think all of these differentials have always been based on
The needs.
effective teaching, right?
Oh,
If
absolutely.
we're effective or highly effective. So, yeah, I mean, we're very much open to it, and we'll bring back those proposals with your help of kind of defining them. So.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say that I appreciate this level of collaboration or willingness to look at it. I feel like we've come a long way from even where you guys were at last week. And I think this idea at least dovetails with what school board members are saying and talking about. So
Right.
we're open to it.
Yeah,
For
so
sure.
reimagining it, I think is
Yeah,
really
and
where
we-
I kind of want to land.
Yeah, we kind of did. I mean, I know we're on docket to have counter for ESPs, and we kind of, in our compensation, kind of started that. So we can look at it then, and maybe that could be the start of that MOU that, again, we would want it to be part of this, that it's not standalone, separate from this negotiation, that it be part of this contract, even if it's a standalone, and like our transformation network.
Correct, and it would be included in the appendix like we do with the others.
Yep,
Yep.
absolutely.
Okay. All right, so page 73, drug and alcohol, free workplace and substance abuse. This is all new language because it wasn't in there.
Yeah, it's not an instructional, yeah.
But so we would like it to reflect what we agreed upon with ESP contract. In doing that, we believe that whatever the 0.1.
Yeah, I think.
Whatever number it is.
Yeah, it was a new, and
That's fine.
based on once we get it, if, I think we recommended placing it in this location.
Okay.
I think it's probably before.
We can do all the table of
Agreements.
contents and the numbers
Yeah, so if
after.
it becomes a new 24 and then everything else shifts down, that
Got
would
it.
just seem
Okay.
to make sense right in that spot, I think. But we can look at that. So what,
Okay. So the areas that that we believe we reflect what we agreed upon in the ESP contract is 0.1.1.
Yep.
As is. 0. No to That one's yes. Okay, sorry. 0.2.1 would be TA. 0.2.2, we would strike minimum of 1 hour. And we would say all administrators shall have annual training in this definition before having the authority to make a recommendation for testing. Then no to 0.2.3. TA to 0.2.4. No to 0.2.5. TA for 0.2.6. And then just adding shall be provided. 0.2.7 would be a TA. And striking the no later than 5 days. Thank you, Kelly. Got it. Then in 0.2.8, striking audio recordings and video recordings. 0.2.9 would be a TA. 0.2.10 would be a no. 0.2.11, the initial paragraph would be TA'd. Then we would strike letter A, letter B, and letter C. We would TA letter D and strike letter E. This also in the section.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Now, let's just look at 0.2.11. There was all the A, B, C, D. Well, I
Yeah.
guess we just make that D.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, going to the next page, page 75. 0.2.12 would be a TA. And then we are gonna, 0.3, we're not in agreement for that section.
Can you explain the rationale for not agreeing to the 0.3 rehabilitation and disciplinary action? Because that's all directly out of the ESP contract, which I believe we do. So I think we just appreciate an understanding of why we would keep that in the ESP contract and not for our instructional folks.
You're talking about 0.3.1?
Yeah, that whole section, because this just mirrors exactly what's in 3.3 of the ESP contract. There's a 3.3.1, 3.3.2, and 3.3.3, which is all, I mean, we just pretty much copy and paste it. The test which results in finding, all of this language about rehabilitation and disciplinary action.
Okay, let me
If you need time to
let me
review it.
hold and we'll I have to review those notes.
Yeah, and what we'll do is I'll go back and compare what.
Yeah.
I know I think Sherry and I were looking at this, we had like 3 or 4 copies of this.
Yeah.
So we'll look at that and just make sure it's all, because that is the goal, is to have them align.
But that makes sense.
Okay.
Okay.
Side. But I marked your notes on what you're willing to TA and update. Okay.
Okay. Let's see. So looking at page 94. Actually, I'll just go through what the only one that we are in agreement to update as far as the supplements at this time is that ESC contact / team leader that we had referenced earlier.
Okay. So just to be clear,
Mhm,
no on any increase to advanced degree supplements.
correct.
No to including elementary in the yearbook supplement, because right now it's just yearbook, and we have a lot of
Correct.
conflict over this when it's,
Yeah, there-
secondary.
We do not allocate a supplement to elementary schools.
Okay. No on the bilingual. So we would not include that language down there about what that means.
Correct.
And then we have a counter on the ESP contact.
Correct.
And I think that's it, other than just updated dates.
Yep.
Okay.
Agreed.
Okay. All right, I will hold on to that.
Okay.
Okay. Only the thing would just be, I think before we get into compensation, would be all the fun MOU section. Which is just the maintenance of old MOUs.
All right. I'm ready.
Okay. So. Just gonna go like this. All right, now we're getting into the added ones. Getting there.
All right.
You guys have no reason I can feel it well.
Yeah.
I know. Can you just stamp it?
Yeah, seriously. Buying a car,
Where's the docu?
signing your mortgage.
All right.
Now, did you review the language that we presented last time as well?
Yeah, so, so I know on yours it was the terminal pay, which I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
we're there, I just want to have that conversation.
Okay,
So I know the other piece that the board proposed was 3.27, which was a new section about student attendance reporting. So after discussion with the team and kind of looking at this, I just want to say that no one on our team is, anti-attendance. I think everyone agrees that it is something that is important that our staff should be doing for all the reasons. A lot of it is, you know, you're gonna get into money and that's a big part of it, right? But at this time, our response would be no to adding this language into the contract, as it's there's a lot of restrictions and concerns about, you know, all the different kinds of schools that are out there. So we agree in concept that student attendance should be done, but we're not in agreement with adding this language to the contract at this time.
All right.
And we will, like we said, we will always work on those issues, address concerns as they come up.
All right.
It's review. It's my review.
You got the
stack.
review stack?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I think we're good.
Okay.
All right. And I have a typo on dates.
That's okay.
So I'm warning you now.
It happens. TA.
Did everybody on our side? All right.
You know, I've got like all my last copies, trying to keep it all straight.
All right. So. And we've shared, like, I don't want to, I know this is our first time presenting an economic proposal for instructional,
Right.
because we were obviously working with the support employees, and we received your economic proposal, and we were able to cost out your economic proposal as well. And we're kind of far apart with what we feel that we can do financially,
Right.
but we're not far apart in concept of what some of the things are that are super important. So I think, like I mentioned before, when we talk about compensation, we need to look at, especially with the one-time payments, we really, our focus is looking at it as where are our critical shortages, where are our recruitment and retention needs, and it's all we want to give employees more compensation, but we have a finite budget, and the state, the budget was not much of an increase this year, obviously. We know the BSA only went up by $41 and some cents, and that is not keeping up with the costs that are going up. The same costs that we're experiencing as citizens,
Right.
we're experiencing in everything in the school district, whether it's gas, whether it's the contracts, you know, it could be. And being new to this role as general manager of budget, I'm starting to see them for the first time, right?
Yeah.
A contract that's the exact same contract as last year is coming across for whether it's fire alarm inspections, you know, all those little things, all those contracts, and they're coming back for the same services, but at much increased cost. So that's what the challenge is, that, you know, obviously we're not receiving the funding that we need to from the state, but we as a district are going to do what we need to do to try to make decisions to increase revenue so that that can ultimately go to employee compensation. All conversations that we have when we are looking at trying to find additional revenue sources, it's all with the goal of increasing compensation. And we understand that that's what you're trying to do with the new salary schedules, which is minimal. And you've said that, right? They're minimal.
Yeah.
We feel that we need to work together to have a plan for where do we want to be, right? Where do we want compensation to be in 3 years, 5 years? And then what do we need to do with the revenue we're receiving in order to get there? So, so with the budget the way that it is, we are in a position that we don't feel that at this time, we want to keep the salary schedules as is. Help me, English teachers. I was a math teacher. You gotta help me out here.
Schedules as they are.
Thank you. If I had thrown the word they in there, I would have gotten that one right too. So, but you know, so I want to go through this with the, just the knowledge that we are looking at everything that we can to try to increase revenue with the main intent of improving employee compensation. Okay. So looking, and then in addition, our one-time payments that we're looking at, they're one-time payments for a reason. It's because of a need at this time, and the need at this time for these one-time payments is due to these critical shortage areas and the need to recruit and retain in these areas. Okay. All right, so looking at number one, effective July 1, eligible employees in the instructional bargaining unit would be credited with 1 year of experience and advance one level on their respective salary schedules accordingly. Same as we've done previously, eligible employees must have worked half plus a day and have an effective valuation for the 24-25 school year. Number two, eligible instructional employees at the top of their respective salary schedules will receive a one-time top step payment of $1,500. We have approximately 1,900 instructional employees that are at the top of their respective salary schedules. Okay. Eligible employees must have worked half plus a day and have an effective evaluation. Number three, which is something that we negotiated last year, and we still feel that these areas are, there's a need to recruit and retain here. Eligible employees who are licensed school psychologists, licensed school social workers, licensed mental health clinicians, licensed OT/PTs, or certified behavior analysts will be paid a one-time $750 supplement to be paid at the conclusion of the 25-26 school year. Number four, again, this is something that we agreed to last year. We included the audiologist. We had impact bargained that separately, but I will actually put it in here this time. For the 25-26 school year, eligible SLPs and audiologists who hold their ASHA Cs will be paid a one-time supplement of $1,500 to be paid at the conclusion of the 25-26 school year. Number five, for the 25-26 school year, ESE instructional employees and instructional employees assigned at our exceptional centers would receive a one-time ESE retention supplement of $1,000 to be paid at the conclusion of the 24, that's where my typo was, at the conclusion of the 25-26 school year. Now and you had, we did not include gifted teachers. That is not a critical shortage area at this time. And we did remove school psychologists from that because you had asked for them to have a separate line is what you would ask for them to be in both, but we are just separating them out. That makes sense. So school psychologists, for the 25-26 school year, school psychologists would receive a one-time critical shortage supplement of $1,200 to be paid at the conclusion of the 25-26 school year. There's my other typo.
It's probably because I have.
Yeah. I either copy and pasted from your type. I don't remember. It's okay. Then looking at the back here, for the 25-26 school year, eligible National Board certified teachers shall receive up to a one-time $1,000 payment for the completion of 10 hours of approved mentoring and or conducting approved training through the professional development department. Probably change that to learning. Makes Dr. Whalen happy. Yeah. Payment shall be made after submission and approval of all required documentation. And this is something that we've been doing for several years. In addition, you mentioned the, if we revamp, reimagine Renaissance, that currently we would be open to the National Board certified teachers that serve at the Renaissance and transformation schools. Like we did this past year, we would want to leave that the same at $4,500.
Just so you know, look, I don't know if
Are you looking if it's in the
Well, it's in-
transformation
yeah.
MOU?
thought we had included.
I think we did for transformation,
Yeah.
but that's where we would want
Just
to
wanna make
include that
sure.
in the Renaissance MOU.
So we're gonna get a question about that probably.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So in addition to that, so we mentioned,
Well, don't skip that you had
what
fingerprint
I missed.
monitoring.
Yes, yes, no, that's significant. The fingerprint monitoring fees, for those who don't know, like there's now this state requirement to go through ACA, which means that all employees have to be fingerprinted through ACA. That's definitely an increased cost to the district. And they're basically, we used to have to submit for fingerprinting monitoring every employee every 5 years. Now we have to do all three. All employees are into 3 buckets depending on when they were last fingerprinted, and we have to do all 3 within within 3 years, all 3 buckets within 3 years. And it's quite an undertaking. So if you're at a school site, you might be told you're in the first bucket and you need to come get fingerprinted, and we're working on a plan for that. HR is working on that, whether they're going to go out to sites or how they're going to do that, because that's a huge undertaking. And in my role, working with the other chief negotiators, it's a huge undertaking and it's a huge cost. So we are doing that and working through that. And then of course, we're still proud that we have, the board agrees to pay the full cost of an employee-only health insurance premium. Insurance costs are, what would you, high? Increasing?
Increasing like everything else.
Yeah. And the increase for this coming year, we shouldered a lot of that as the district instead of, passing it on to employees. So that increase for the district is an increase of $25 million for the 25-26 school year. Because the new insurance doesn't start till January, that's for a half a year. So that was an increase for half a year. For a full year, it would be 50 million. And then that's assuming everything stayed exactly the same for the next year. We don't believe that would be the case, but time will tell.
No, it's gonna be better because
Yeah.
we're self-insured.
Yes, and we do have this, we are hopeful, and I think when people say we're saving money by going self-insured,
No, I understand.
you understand, but I think it's important for everyone to understand, we're not saving money. We are mitigating and minimizing the increases because we have more control. So instead of something going up 40 million, it's going up 25 million, but
Right,
it's
right.
still going up. It's not going
It's a
down.
spending saving.
It's a spending saving. Did I say that right?
Yeah,
Okay.
ultimately, right now, fully insured model, we pay an insurance company to cover claims and then for them to have overhead and
Mhm.
such. So we're going to stop paying that extra. and just pay the
Right,
claims.
right.
But it's still going to cost more today than it did last year.
Mitigate the increase.
Yeah, mitigate
Yes.
the increase.
Yeah.
So just, I don't want to minimize this isn't, we feel that this, is it all we wish we could do? No, but it's what we can do based in our current budget.
Mhm.
The instructional one step is approximately $14.5 million.
That's instructional skills and student services, that's everybody?
Correct.
14.5.
14.5, and that includes fringe,
Yep.
which we know that the district is incurring a $5 million increase in retirement,
Mhm.
which is good, but that's a cost.
Yep.
The top step payment
Here, sorry.
is approximately 3.7 million. The number 3 that we passed across for the licensures, including number 3 and number 4 is approximately, hold on, $660,000. Number 5, the ESE bonus at $1,000 for all ESE employees is approximately $3 million. The school psychologist to receive a one-time $1,200 critical shortage supplement is approximately just under $200,000. I do not have the cost for number 7 at this time, 8, and we discussed 9. Then I think it's important to, we mentioned the $25 million increase for insurance. We have already agreed on a transformation MOU, which is already going to be in effect for the 25-26 year, and that was approximately $15 million for those employees.
And you mentioned the rehire retiree was like 1.1.
Actually, I have it written down here. If all those on 15, if they all win, it would be 1.9 million. That's an overestimate,
Right.
Right. Right.
But
Since we're at the beginning of the year. and
Yeah.
all that.
it's an overestimate. I think it'll be
Yep.
somewhere between 1.4 and 1.9 is my, based on when I was seeing their higher dates, but I don't want to give you a
Mhm.
false number. I don't want to overestimate you to think I'm
Well, that is, right? They should look at
That,
them
yeah,
all going.
yeah, I just wanted to say that is if,
Right.
yeah,
Did
Yeah.
you by any chance have you may have said it already, we talked about the ESY and the ELP increase of
Yeah.
from 27 to 30. Did you have an estimate on that?
I don't yet,
know it's
because
hard.
they're working on that for me. It's an 11% increase. So what I
Okay.
have, our team is going to pull what we paid this past year.
Right.
Because 11% is significant.
Sure.
So,
Okay, no,
but we're working on that.
yeah. Yeah, I didn't know how to pull that either.
Yeah,
without
and that's
knowing
the thing,
exactly who
we-
those, unless we had a list.
Correct, correct. So that's the difficult part with some of the estimates, and you and I have spoken about some of the
Yeah.
facts that, it's difficult sometimes to be able to estimate some of the things that change from year to year, but at least that gives us a ballpark.
Yeah, did you have an estimate on the ESC contact?
No,
Oh,
but
I didn't
I can pull that pretty easily.
okay,
Yeah, because we know when we get to an agreement, we want to be able to say what the total compensation package is,
Yes.
and it is,
well, it
there's a
helps-
lot of pieces within the contract. The rehired retirees at almost 1 million to $2 million, that's a significant cost that I
Sure.
think we have to be aware of, that will, hit the general fund
Yeah,
if we agree to that.
so I just want to ask a few questions. I'll try to speak loudly.
Yeah.
So, and this came up in ESP negotiations, our proposal had a one-time payment at the first
you.
of the school year.
Yes,
So we just want to be clear that that's a no, that's been left out of the proposal, correct?
that is correct. We have costed it out.
Yeah,
And we were in a position last year with where our fund balance and contingency funds were, that was something that we wanted to put that towards employees.
Yeah.
If we did what you had proposed, it would be approximately 50 million. We even looked at, just for sake of transparency, if we gave all employees a $500 one-time payment, $16 million. So 16.
16.
16.
I was gonna say
Yeah,
50
so,
sounded, I was like,
right.
that's everybody though.
and it's all about, where we
Right.
have limited funds and where do we want those funds as a team to go?
So then just some clarifying questions. So the ESE, this is number 5 in your proposal for the ESE instructional employees with the attached job code.
Yep.
And then employees assigned in our exceptional centers. We've gotten some questions about this, and I just want to be clear that that's not just ESE instructional employees at an ESE center.
Correct.
So that would also include student service, even though we removed school psychologists. If there are instructional employees who are student services who are assigned there,
Correct.
they would be eligible for that. So
That is correct.
psychologists,
It's,
counselors, SLPs.
that's correct. And specials teachers,
Yeah,
right? We have
special,
specials
yeah.
teachers. And then what we've done in past years, which we would propose we mimic,
Right.
you do have some student services personnel that might be at an exceptional center half the day, and then the other part of their assignment is at a traditional school. They would receive half of that. If they are at a transformation school and an exceptional center, then same thing. They get the portion of whatever we are agreeing
Right,
to for their
perfect.
assignment.
Now, we had also in our proposal, proposed including the exceptional centers in the transformation network. And we estimated that around $550,000. And, there was a lot of work put in by our ESC committee, especially our exceptional centers, just because of, while they're included in the ESC payment in your proposal for 1,000, there was an effort and an intentional proposal to give a little bit more to our exceptional center employees. And we noticed that that's not included.
We did not include that. Our transformation network schools, they change, right, year to year. This year they happen to be, there was only one school added this past year, but it is based on student performance and school grade. And that is the nature of the transformation network MOU. And so we are not in agreement to add the exceptional centers to that.
Was there any discussion though about doing additional funds in some way for the ESE centers? In addition to,
We did
that
not-
was kind of the goal. And
Okay.
and again, I think we talked about our rationale there is that a lot of the students that end up in our centers are zoned for transformation. So,
Right.
that student performance piece, there's a lot of that tied there.
We just discussed whether it was appropriate for them to be included in the
Okay.
transformation MOU,
Gotcha.
and we did not
Okay.
feel that that was appropriate.
Okay, gotcha. And, all right. I think that's it. So did you have a grand total? Kind of, I could do the math.
I can get that for you.
Oh, that's okay. We can.
When people are staring at me if I'm doing it.
No,
it
no,
might
I know.
be-
And I wrote it all down and we can probably, you can text us.
Okay.
I don't know if there's any, I don't have any other questions right now on this. I think, we'll take some time to caucus and look through all of this, come up with our counter.
Okay.
I know the ESPs are scheduled to come in around 3 o'clock, so it may be that we do it all together, so.
Yeah, maybe we can do that.
Keep us
It's an hour.
posted.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
It's
Okay.
two-
Well, 2:18 right
2:18
now.
right now, so we'll check in with you at 3:18.
Okay, yep, just let us know. Thank you. If you have any,
All right, so welcome back. Thank you
Thank
for the
you.
caucus. That gave us some time to talk about and look over the instructional counter. With transition and all that, we're not prepared to make a counter right now in instructional, but
Okay.
we are transitioning. We have our ESP team that's here with us that we
Mhm.
met last week. We had made a proposal. You all brought a counter. And, we were ready with a counter proposal today for ESPs. And we'll kind of play it by ear once we make our proposal here.
okay,
So I think, before I kind of pass this across, there's been a lot going on, and especially today in the news. Some memos and things that are coming out. I think I just want to highlight the last couple years that we've been bargaining together. That my first year here, we got a really exciting settlement that was done before the holidays, right? We got things in place before the fall break and the winter break, which was a shift, right? Especially from the year prior where things got held up in a lengthy impasse. And then last year, historically, we were able to settle in May and everything was in place July 1 for folks coming back. So I think HCTA and HCPS, our union, our employees and the school board have had a real commitment and good work working together to try to settle ahead of time.
Mhm.
And there's a lot in the news today about, the governor kind of scolding unions across the state for delaying negotiations. And I think that it's important that we recognize that this union has not done that. Employees have not done that, and we've not held up negotiations. And we know that a memo will be going out that will frame it that superintendents are to contact union representatives to demand that we as a union get the dollars that the governor and legislature have appropriated to the district. And I think it's important to put on this record that there's no way that we have the ability to take money from the district and hold it, that happens in negotiations. And so I think, and also I know this is about ESP negotiations, but a lot that goes out in the news about raising historic funding. That's not what we're hearing here locally at the school board. That funding this is the lowest increase we've ever seen. And, touting that average minimum teacher pay has risen to $49,444. There are still districts in this state that are not at $47,500. And when minimum starting pay is $49,400, here in this district, we're not at $49,400. But I think the bigger story is that average pay for all teachers in the state is at $54,600. That's only a $5,000 difference about. And we deal with that here, the compression. And for our ESPs, even worse, when minimum wage was mandated to be at $15 an hour, same compression happened.
Correct.
So I just wanted to be clear about that. And I think, last night during the budget presentation, we heard, that the finance team, there's a lot that has to go into it and looking at data that's coming. You're still waiting for a fourth calculation, which is not the union's fault. It's not your team's fault. It's not the school board's fault. But you are making your assumptions based on substantial data. You use data that you're gathering throughout the year because we know it. We know that the projection for the ending fund balance is what you told us last time at 290 million, which is a $7 million increase over what was originally budgeted for the fund balance ending this year. And I know Mr. Lewis is not here, but he did express that, if we have excess funds and we provide what we can to employees and we have a healthy fund balance. And we're expecting overall enrollment to stay the same, right? I mean, we kind of have a feel for that. And I know that the state continues to want to say that it's gonna go down and down and down because, you know, of the expansion of vouchers. And I know Mr. Lewis isn't here, so I'll save some of my questions about vacancies, because I have questions specifically that I think he can help us, but that might come down the road.
Okay.
And I want to highlight before we make our proposal that some of the things that the school board said last night, you know, member Combs talked about how salaries have not kept up. And that we must continue to fund the most important people in our district. And she said on the record, why is there so much of a fund balance? Because it was on the backs of our teachers and individuals working 2 and 3 jobs for covering more classes. I think, you know, Stacy Hahn talked about the fund balance policy, which I just want to say here that the fund balance policy right now is not 15%, 6%, but we're projecting a higher than 10% fund balance. Member Rendon talks about, you know, we are the choice option in this district because of the phenomenal work of our employees. Member Washington talks about we have to work hard. Our employees are not being paid what they should have. They're not being paid what they deserve, and they should be paid what they deserve. Member Gray talked about how our high school grades are due to our teachers and staff. And Member Perez talked about this is a house and we are a family and we need to place money in the pockets of our teachers and staff. So I think, you know, and again, I think some of our messaging last night was around, and we always say this here, our proposals, we look at your budget. We don't just say, oh, we just want this round number. And we do the analysis and we look at what is reported to the state and what is budgeted. And we can get more into that later, but I know that was a lot to say that like, we're not here withholding funds from employees. And in fact, we're looking carefully at your numbers to try to do what's right and use those funds. So I don't know if there's anything else. I know I just spoke a lot on that.
No, that's all good. And, I mean, my impression and I just saw the letter from the governor as well at the same time as you, but, they're referencing the teacher salary increase allocation, which now they call it the salary increase allocation. And I think as it's being touted that it's record high funding, I think it's important for us to know that our allocation, our increased money that we're getting for salary increases for this year is approximately $6 million, a little over $6 million. And that's the part that they're holding back. And we have historically, since teacher salary increase allocation has come to be, we haven't only used that pot of money for salary increases. We have, I think, every year gone over what we have been given. There are some districts who are not in a position to do that, and they just say $6 million, this is what we have, this is what we're being given as new money, and this is what we have, and that's it. And we have historically tried to dip into other areas in order to compensate our employees. So, but that is the part, the maintenance money from past years, that does come to us. So I think what they're referencing is the increased money that until we come to an agreement, that $6 million will not be released to us.
Yeah. Yeah, and I just think that, you know, again, the message out there that unions continue to delay salary increases through unnecessary and prolonged contract negotiations, and that's not what's happening here. So, I mean, we've come every time prepared with our proposals and looking at exactly what we see in what's reported in the budget to make those proposals.
And Britt, you have a lot of contacts with other unions around the state, as well as we do with other chief negotiators around the state. There are many, many, many districts that have not even gone to the table yet.
Exactly.
So, I mean, I think we have a commitment to doing it as early as we can so that employees can feel confidence of what their compensation will be for the year.
Right.
But in doing that, there is more uncertainty, obviously, because budget just came out.
Right.
But
and you're still waiting on the fourth calculation
and still closing out the 24,
right.
25 year.
And the legislature was 2 months behind. And all the calculations have been delayed. So I think it's important, and we'll continue to talk about that.
Okay.
But I don't think there's ever been between either, you know, your team or the school board or HCTA to intentionally delay bargaining for whatever reason, other than outside factors, or we just need time, you know, to work through things, maybe do research, but it's never been an intentional tactic. All right, so I will.
Before we do that, I
Yeah.
just want to say that, thank you again for this collaboration and us getting to the table quicker than other districts, despite the tardiness of the budget from the state and the fourth calculation, all those things involved. I will say that I'm disappointed that we can't figure out a way to do a supplement on that first paycheck. Because I hear from all the employees, I know that you do as well, about what that challenge really is. When they come back and they're already working now for, it will be 11 days and they're getting paid for one. And that really puts financial stress on every one of our employees. So what we did last year in creating that supplement, I thought was unique. And I thought it was amazing because of how well received it was across the district. Yet we also understand that where you guys are at, and that like this year is not a year that you're countering and saying that you can do anything there. And we agree that all the salaries in these scales should be higher. And that's really where our focus needs to be. That's what our members want, but it does not solve that problem. But I do ask that we find a creative way to solve that problem. There is no reason why we couldn't have two different options for employees to have fully equalized pay for every paycheck, from the first one through the last one, for those that opt in, and just pay as you go for those that choose otherwise. That would solve that problem. And
Say
again, a full equalized pay, meaning this is
Right.
the first paycheck that they
Mhm.
get, would be the same as the last paycheck.
Got it.
Really divide it all up and have choice A being that and choice B being getting paid as you go. But I think that that's a creative way, because this problem does not get solved next year either if we're not gonna be able to do something like this.
Right.
Now, the increases to the scale we think are super important, and we want to do that. Now, around what we're talking about both here and at the school board is that we want to make sure that you guys are coming in on budget with salaries, but you haven't done that. You've come in with a lot left on the table. Well, we want to make sure that you come in under budget, but we'd rather you come in under budget by $1 than $100 million. And we want to work with you on that with the suggestions and the recommendations that we're going to make. Not really today necessarily, but as we come back to the table. So I want you to, I feel like we were really clear at the school board meeting last night with my anecdote and everything, of how I was trying to paint that picture of how that work is done. And these people are doing that work. So these are other things we want to keep considering as we go through our bargaining session and season this year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, so compensation with the salary schedule. Got it.
Copy for some people, yeah.
Yeah. You can keep,
Can you get
those are all for
extra
you, so if
copy
you need,
for Jamie too?
yeah, there's, hopefully there's plenty there. If you need extras, just let us know.
There should be.
Oh. Share. You get to two. All right, so, we made some adjustments, because I know last time we made a proposal for the one-time payment to be on the, first paycheck, which came back as a no. So what we've done, I think it's important to note that our last proposal, we estimated it at $10,261,200. So I'll walk through what we've got here, is that, this is an agreement, hopefully to settle today. But number one is that effective July 1, 2025, the education support professional salary schedule agreed upon shall be updated and included in Appendix C, and we'll walk through that. And then number two is effective July 1, 2025, eligible employees in ESP bargaining units shall advance one level on their respective pay grade on the education support professional salary schedule. Eligible employees must have worked half a year plus a day and have an effective evaluation for the 24-25 school year. We are keeping our top level for ESPs at the top of their respective pay grade, effective July 1, 2025. Those employees on pay grade level 25 on their respective pay grade at level 25 who do not receive a level increase shall receive an FRS eligible one-time top level payment of $2,500.
Got it.
To be paid no later than the end of the first semester. Eligible employees must have worked half a year plus a day and have an effective evaluation for the 24-25 school year. Numbers 4 through 9 are the regrading. That would be registered nurses being regraded one pay grade from pay grade 34 to 35. Our LPNs also being regraded from pay grade 26 to 27. Parent liaisons being regraded from pay grade 15 to 16. Paraprofessionals 3 being regraded from pay grade 20 to 21. Head Start aides regraded from pay grade 15 to pay grade 16. And office network computer specialists regraded from pay grade 26 to 27. Number 10, we had some good discussion about this with the instructional, and we this is hopefully an open door to that.
Yep.
The 25-26 school year, highly qualified eligible ESP, as defined by state and federal statute, who provide instructional support in schools of need. And then we kind of started this door for it. Schools of need would include schools with critical numbers of vacancies, former Renaissance schools, and schools exiting the transformation network for the 25-26 school year. We know right now, technically there are none, but this is kind of what we're thinking.
Okay.
Schools, which I believe we've done in the past, where schools that may have been exiting, because it's, we put all this funding in there and then they reach their
Right.
goals and then boom, it's a
Yeah,
cut.
and we don't have anyone exiting
Right.
this year.
Right.
but-
Right.
So,
So,
understood.
and there's an attached list, and we'll go over that.
Yep.
So this shall be paid as a salary differential, minimum of 5% and no less than $750. And then, of course, we have on the back here, number 11, the board agreeing to continue to cover the cost of an employee-only health insurance premium for a designated health plan. And then the board covering the cost of fingerprint monitoring. So our list of schools for schools of need would include those schools that had formal, the schools formerly known as Renaissance schools, like our artists formerly known as. There were a few schools that we targeted. I believe Wilson Elementary is a school that fell to a D that was not included in the transformation network. So that would be an example of a school that maybe should be included here. We also looked at, I believe, Barrington and Shields. Shields was another one, I believe.
Barrington moved to an A this year.
So Barrington, we included there because that
Okay.
was a school, if you recall, during this last school year, we had talked in our labor management about schools that had critical vacancies. So
Okay.
they may be high performing schools, but
Okay.
our vacancies there are in the double digits. And those are some schools that, along with a few others on here that were already traditionally Renaissance schools, that needed that extra attention because we're having trouble recruiting there, or because they're in double digits. So that might be something when we
Got
talk
it.
about critical vacancies.
Okay.
That would also include, I believe, Leonard High School, which I don't believe was traditionally a Renaissance school. So just to kind of give you some rationale on schools that show up here that may not have traditionally been Renaissance schools, but we did look at Wilson, Barrington, Shields, and Leonard, just to kind of open that discussion about how we would rationalize.
And Sumner.
And
right?
Sumner, yes. Schools of need, because those were schools, whether they dropped in a grade or they were in critical vacancies of double digits in, 4 classes. So again, that was our kind of proposal.
So let me read, so this list
Yep.
is last year's Renaissance sites.
Yep.
Plus Wilson Elementary, Barrington Middle School, Shields Middle School, Leonard High School, Sumner High
Yes.
School.
Correct.
Okay,
Yes.
got it. It helps that I had screenshotted the one
Yes.
from last year.
Yeah. And I had to remember what I typed today.
Okay.
But we did, we looked at that, and Rob
Okay.
and I sat, looked at that to try to.
It was our initial intent to counter where you were at last week, but then what you brought today, maybe something that we can collaborate on.
Okay,
with
so
the-
this was just drafted before.
Yes.
Yes,
Perfect.
Yeah,
Okay, that
so
helps me
I think
kind of wrap my
we
head
were
around it.
Kind of on that same track of thinking.
Yep.
And so that's why we're glad to hear what you said during instructional bargaining of how can we kind of redefine. And
Okay.
so still preserving those Renaissance schools and maybe looking at a different way of defining them. But
Understood.
also understanding that it's beyond just free and reduced lunch, that critical vacancy based on location can be hard for recruiting. Maybe that's a recruiting incentive to fill those vacancies, because critical vacancies in core classes are just double digit numbers, hurts student performance as well. So
Okay.
I think it is all kind of tied to what's best for students.
Okay.
Not just a socioeconomic status.
Yeah.
rationale.
All right.
So we'll get over to the salary schedule now. So what you'll see what we did here is our proposal last week, I guess it was last week. we had, we've talked a lot about the one-time supplement, the one-time payment that was done on the first paycheck, which is fast approaching. And we had proposed a standalone MOU for that, which was denied. So we understand that is not there as an available one-time thing. But as Rob framed, and we've talked a lot about in doing what we can to improve base salary, what we've done is we moved that over into the salary schedule, this proposal. So this is actually represents 5.48% increase to the base salary. So you've got the approximate cost of the step, the approximate cost of a 5.48 improvement to the salary schedule, which is taking the one-time payment and putting it into the scale over time rather than a one-time payment. And then we've got the approximate cost of the regrading, which brings that overall to $9,974,350, which the 5.48 to the base salary schedule represents an average increase of 7% or $1.9335. In the right-hand column, that's where we have our $2,500 one-time top step payment to approximately 91 employees at $227,500. So this adjusted our proposal from 10,261,201 to 10,201,850.
Okay.
So that's our rationale here, is moving the one-time payment to a spread out cost over the course of the year.
Okay.
And just to kind of give some more rationale, I mean, we were there listening to the budget presentation, and we've looked at what's been allocated for instructional salaries alone. And when we look back at the 23-24 school year, at the annual financial report that was reported to the state, we see that instructional salaries, what was actually spent was $697 million. The total expenditures in the overall budget was just over $2 billion. And when we look at what was budgeted for the 24-25 school year, now my notes are going here. What was budgeted was well north of $850 million. And the overall budget was budgeted for appropriations at $2.5 billion. And when we look at what's been allocated for this upcoming budget, so the budget has actually increased from $2.5 billion to $2.6 billion. Instructional salaries alone are budgeted at $820 million over what, and this is the point I made last night, that at $820 million over what was spent in the annual financial report at 697 or 92. That's well over $100 million. And when we look at the fund balance, we do recognize that the fund balance is projected what you're in the proposed tentative budget with an ending fund balance at 205 million, where what you've estimated where we're ending at. And again, I know I made this point last time, but when we look at the fund balance over all the years prior to COVID, that fund balance consistently was at about just over 100 million. So that's still double what it's been consistently over time. So we believe that this proposal fits well within what has been traditionally spent in instructional salaries over what's been budgeted.
Well, and we can pull, so you are comparing to the 23-24 year. And obviously we did a lot of great work yesterday or last year at the bar. It feels like yesterday. Yes, last year at the bargaining table. So the actuals, we can pull the actuals for 24-25 once that, they're working through that as we close the year. So that would be obviously a more accurate depiction than looking at the 23-24 year, which was before we increased salary schedules this past year.
Yeah, and I think, Rob also pointed out, we've looked back over since 2015, 2016, and looked at, the year of COVID, 2019, 2020, that was the highest payroll's been over the last, however many years, that is 10 years.
Right.
So yeah, so while comparing what's budgeted for the coming year to what was actually spent in the 23-24, that increase for 23-24 over the year prior was not $100 million or $120 million. So, we're kind of looking at long-term data and trends.
Yeah.
And same with the fund balance. So, and again, we agree, it's all unknown. We won't know your annual financial report for the 24-25 school year until September.
Right.
But this is what we have and this is what's available and that is where our rationale comes from.
Okay.
And then also, we know that there are budget amendments each month and we look at those as well and see what percentage we're at and where we are based on what we've budgeted and what's actually spent. And we do expect to see that, what was budgeted, as I quoted, I think for 24-25 at 850 million. If you're already budgeting at 805 million or 820 million, we know that there's an over projection there for what was budgeted for last school year compared to what's going to.
And we are working on some things as a team, our finance team, along with HR, to look at ways to even tighten up some of that data so that our projections can be even closer. Chip did give us, that is a new initiative that we're doing right now to make sure that we're budgeting, not for lack of a better way of saying it, double budgeting. If we have a position that is a full-time substitute and it's being paid with contracted services, then obviously this budget for salary would need to be moved to contracted services, right? So there has to be a one-to-one relationship there, but it's not that easy because obviously Kelly Services covers leaves, it covers daily subs.
Right.
And so it really would only make sense to do that for long-term subs, right? Where that teacher is filling in permanently. So we're working on that. And that's something we're working on because like we said, we want to tighten up the budget so that we can compensate employees as much as we possibly can.
Right.
But we also have to, I know you love me to say the word, the fund balance. We do have to look at that it is decreasing. And everybody has a different comfort level on where they want it to be. But if it was at 390 million and was at 20-some%, and then we're anticipating this year is going to be at 290 million to close the year, which is at 15-16%. And then with what we have done with what we're proposing we do with salary increases, as well as moving the money for self-funding, dealing with the insurance costs, all those things, we're expecting to be closer to 205 million, which is at 10%. And that 10% is not all unassigned. So, I mean, that's so yes, everybody's comfort level's in a different spot. But it has decreased. And if I have a savings account and it decreases that much in 2 years, if we keep doing that, then that's going to create a bad situation for us financially. And I don't want to ever be here in 6 months, in a year, and say that we need to reduce our workforce, because with 80-some% of our expenses being in salaries, the only legitimate way, if we overextend our budget, is to reduce our workforce. And we don't want to do that because that could create poor conditions for our teachers.
Well, let me begin with how many vacancies do we have right now? We could argue that we've already reduced that workforce. They're doing it with a reduced workforce.
Understood.
I could argue that. Number two, when we talk about fund balances, and I did not bring this conversation today, something I missed yesterday was that by having fund balances well over what the legal designation is of 3%, that handicaps this entire process, because you're telling the legislators that are saying, we're sending money, yeah, we have it, but we have it in savings. That's ultimately what's going on in this state. When districts are saying that we're holding way more than the 3% that legally have to have, lawmakers are telling us they have the money right there. They're just holding it in their savings account. It's our job to get it. And that's what we're asking for. And that's a problem. That's a whole problem for the entire state and the system. So we understand that a higher fund balance means more money in the savings account, and more money in the savings account is better. But again, we represent people that have nothing in their savings account. They're barely having enough in their checking account. So that's really where that's the fundamental issue that we have to get through and pass. So
Understood.
again,
We understand that.
And
Yeah,
I think
we understand
too, like everything I pointed out in the budget we're not even talking about the fund balance. We're not, I mean, these are monies that are allocated in the budget.
Correct.
And we've asked that question at this table before, that if we're allocating money in the budget, we're planning on that being recurring funds. So, again, like, we're not saying, okay, we see that you've only got 2 million in the budget and we want you to fund, 8 million of it out of your fund balance. What we're looking at is within the budget that is there, that is recurring expenses. And especially with saying, okay, you can't do a one-time payment again, well, let's work within the budget that's there, that's
We'll-
increasing.
And I think we're seeing the budget differently.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just,
I hear that, and I hear what
Right.
you're saying about the fund balance as well. I want to be
even
clear.
taking
that
the fund balance conversation out, I don't think we're seeing, like, we want to compensate employees as much as we can. So as as our year end is coming to a close, we should have clearer information by the time we're able to come back with our counter
Mhm.
that can show you what we're seeing.
Right.
I think that's important because we're not trying to keep money. We're not trying to build the fund balance. In fact, we've shown that the fund balance has decreased significantly over the last 2 years. So we're not trying to build it. And I can't speak to the past. I can only speak to where we are moving forward. We want to be able to have a tight budget so that we can free up money. And we also want the budget to reflect what our actual expenses are. And we're working through that as a team.
Yeah, understood.
We hear you.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
So that's it for our ESP counter. Now, I know that there was quite a bit for the instructional. And
Yeah.
it's already 4 o'clock.
Yes.
And there's a bit of work we have to do to kind of work on that. So, because I need to get some things that we talked about with the team, look at it, and I fear that we wouldn't be able to turn that around
Okay.
by 5 o'clock. I mean, because I need to go down and work on it, and then,
Okay.
So,
What about any of the language things we talked about?
hold up. One thing we'll give you right now is I'll give you a couple copies of the TA that we did. Those are
Perfect. Thank you.
copies. Oh, yes. All of my scribbles.
Let me find mine.
I know, because I try to keep, our copies from before and compare what we talked about. All right. So, okay, so on the terminal pay this is back to instructional now, which I think a lot of our team is still here. This is 14.3.1, which is paired with 17.3.7. So
Yeah.
we're ready to TA this language at just exactly as we have with ESP. I know, however, today you've conditioned it with settlement of a grievance, and I can't do that in the sense that, like, I believe the grievance needs to play out. I'm not saying that this may not help that or hurt that, but I can't TA and say, and we will settle the grievance. You know what I'm saying? So we're ready to,
Doesn't it settle the grievance?
I can't speak to that because I'm not the representative on that particular case, but I do know that there's a meeting tomorrow. I just don't think it's fair to the grievance process and that particular
Okay.
employee and that representative to say, hey, it's settled here.
Understood.
Without,
Okay.
I'm aware of it, but I'm not the staff person that's representing that.
All right.
I'm not saying that it doesn't help, but I'm not saying, I just can't say that I'm gonna
Alright.
settle it.
We'll
So,
hold.
so
Okay.
we can hold
We
on.
appreciate what you're bringing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Let
understood.
me be
I just-
very clear.
I just want
Alright.
to say that we're ready to TA it. Just,
Okay.
I don't want to TA it and guarantee that is a settlement.
Okay,
And,
I understand.
but again,
So we will-
I'm not saying that if we TA'd it, it wouldn't help that.
Understood. Okay. Well, we
So-
know it's been proposed, so we'll
Okay.
hold and we'll have that go through the process.
Yeah.
The way
Yeah.
that it is.
All right.
And I feel, just on the record, that both sides saying that
I'm not,
We have to speak with the grievance.
I'm not saying that it wouldn't. I don't want to say, yes, now it's settled. I just
understood,
don't think that's fair.
understood. No, I respect that.
Yeah. 18.1.2, I know that that's a money piece and you sent us the money on
Mm-hmm. I
that.
did.
So we're not ready for a counter just yet, but
Okay.
thank you for sending us that, like, estimated cost.
Okay,
We had some conversation about it. I just need to do
understood.
that. So we don't have a counter there. And then I know we had 20.1.3.
Mhm.
Again, that's tied to compensation with the ESC contact.
Okay.
So that will come. And then, everything on 22.
So we're on hold.
Yeah, I think
You don't have a
everything,
hearing.
everything.
I think so.
I think everything.
That's okay.
Well,
That's
because
okay.
those pages are tied to compensation, which you gave us.
Understand.
Like, the only other thing was the drug and substance abuse. Like, I did not have time. I do want to mirror what we have here. I just didn't have
Okay.
time. And I know we were waiting on you were gonna look at the 0.3,
Yeah.
which is
Yep.
rehabilitation and discipline.
Okay,
So if you can look at that, I
Yeah.
think we can. Again, our goal is we want it to stay the same.
Understood.
If we're offering rehabilitation and disciplinary language for our ESPs, we do feel that that's important for instruction. I think we're doing it.
Yeah.
I think,
all right.
unless you have other information, tell me that.
And I also got the information about media specialists that I can send, I'll send that to you, Kelly.
Okay, good.
Cool.
So what I'm hearing is that we're kind of where we can get today. And that we need to set up a follow-up session
Yes.
Yes,
where we would now be bringing an ESP counter
Mhm.
and you would be
That's
bringing
correct.
an
Yep.
instruction counter.
yes.
Got it.
While working on like.
While
you
working
look-
on all
you
the
look-
other
You
stuff.
look at the drug and alcohol
Yeah.
policy and,
Yeah.
again, we're ready to TA the terminal pay and.
Okay.
And retiree, like.
Yeah.
I just.
Understood.
I just
And we
can't
appreciate
position-
that.
Yeah.
No, no,
We wanna
We
be
do
clear,
too. We're,
yes.
we're ready. It's just.
Okay,
I don't want to say that about.
that's completely understandable. You're
Yeah.
representing them and they need to be a part of that conversation. Okay.
All right, so let's pull some calendars.
Well, and since I know that teachers come back this week, for those of you that are going back, some of you
They're
support
already there.
employees are going back. I think
Already.
everybody's back, so.
Yeah.
That's an exciting time. This is always a great time. So thank you for all you do. And I hope you have an amazing first day back, since I do not think we'll be meeting before that time on Friday. So if we look at our calendars. That's what I had to do, yeah.
All right. I think, I mean. I know it's gonna be a little more difficult now, like we don't have the full day, you know, to start,
Right.
like, not, I mean, we can, but I know it's difficult and that first pre-planning is important for instructional.
It
and growth.
is, and
And so is the first week.
yes, I'm
So
very
we can look
hesitant
at-
to bring.
We can look at afternoons, but I
Yeah.
just, yeah,
While we have them, I think it might be wise if we looked at earlier, at least Mondays.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not-
Are you saying we're gonna have hurricanes? Don't say that out loud. While we,
Your toes in the
while
ball,
we
it's
have
not
them.
bad. That's all.
well, I know
All
some
right.
folks that have installed like new hurricane windows,
Yeah.
so we're banking on that being like, now that they got new hurricane.
Yeah.
no, we won't have, yeah,
Yeah,
so.
all right. So let's start with instructional.
Okay,
So are you thinking the 18th? Is that what you're thinking, Mr. Crete, when you said
I was just throwing out
early
yeah.
release
But-
Monday?
that, yeah, using that
Yeah,
to have our meetings, that's all.
I know.
Sorry.
it's a long way, but, yeah, it is.
Wait, what's today?
All right, today's the 30th.
First. And then next week's pre-planning.
So next week's pre-planning. I don't know, I mean, I don't also, like, I'm kind of looking at our instructional team about their flexibility on the pre-planning. If it,
Professional study day too.
yeah, professional study day is the fourth.
On six start, that's really running into like open houses, so.
Yeah.
7th and 8th.
You're right.
Two, so 4th or 5th are usually 4th is professional study days and.
Maybe the fifth.
I mean, unless we look on the afternoon and we do it as,
We have bargaining on the 4th in the morning.
okay, yeah.
So
Yeah.
maybe if we did the afternoon of the fifth, just for instructional,
Yeah, let's tentatively,
unless you all want to be ready with, we can bring both teams. I don't know. The only risk with that is just. So if we did it instructional on the afternoon of August fifth.
let's start with that.
Do you feel like you'll have some clarity, like, what you're talking?
Like,
Yeah, because I mean, like we can have an instructional counter on the fifth, right?
Okay.
Yeah,
But I think when we look, you know, what you just talked about, bringing back the ESP proposal, it's gonna be dependent on
Right.
what you guys want, and maybe that is down the road, I don't know.
Yeah. All right, so
So if we did the afternoon of August fifth for instructional, are we talking 1 o'clock again? Is that way you have the morning at your school and leave at
Let's-
noon
you want to go even a little later?
or later?
I mean, I just,
Yeah.
I do not,
You guys tell me.
3.
I just don't want to
3
create a
o'clock?
position where your principals are upset with me. pulling you out during
So
pre-planning.
Well,
Tuesday,
Tricia, let's get
August
some
5th,
accounting.
like maybe more like 3 o'clock? 3 o'clock?
3 o'clock would probably be easier. Yeah.
Let's do that.
So that we could be done by then.
Yeah.
There could be some, but-
Should we just start with one?
Let's do that, and when we talk next week on the 5th, let us know where you're
Okay.
feeling with ESP, and maybe we can schedule then for the ESP group, because I.
That sounds good.
Yeah.
That sounds good. Okay.
Let's do that.
Yep. All right.
Something about other dates.
Yes. And that'll give us time because we do have some members of our team that are not here that way we can coordinate with their calendars as well.
Mhm.
Okay. All right. Yes, congratulations to any of you who had your last first day of school.